This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masteringencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Hang on, I'm going to stop recording. Oh. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another live Mastering Encompass live event. I'm just getting my bearings here. We tried this new countdown thing and it looks like it worked. So that's awesome. My name is Larry Bailey, here with that's feedback. Making sure that we meet here on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock, Thursdays at 1 o'clock. You can always join. Always open for everybody to join. This is all about asking questions, getting answers as a group. If you're looking for a replay of this, if you're watching this or you heard about it, etc., you can see a replay in the Mastering Encompass community. If you need a link for that, let me know. And also on replays will be on our YouTube channel. So not everybody can get to YouTube, which is why I like to post it in the community. I get that. These meetings are always about you. So Sharon, Brian, Kevin, Katie, Chris, Amy, thank you for coming today, keeping me company. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, because this is always about you. Sharon, do you want to talk about coding? Is that where you want to start? No, she's like, no, Larry, why are you calling me out? Sorry. No, in all seriousness, these meetings are always for those that attend. You always get preferential treatment because you take the time out of your day to show up and not just watch me online somewhere and watch us what we're doing. So are there any questions that you want to go over? Obviously 23.2.0.1 dropped for Encompass. Mostly everybody was good. I know of a few support cases, a couple I'm involved with directly with ICE. Small stuff. It has something to do, we think, maybe with Velocify. TPO Connect was broken. It wasn't even wonky. It just flat out broke. If you're not aware of that, I would definitely encourage you to stay on top of the emstatuscenter.com. I think that's still the domain. Let me triple check that. Release notes. What do we got here? Status Center. Yep, emstatuscenter.lema.com. Still the domain. Looks like today we've got some TQL services, some SFTP errors uploading to ArchMI. Anyway, you can check that stuff out on emstatuscenter.com if you need to. Let's see, Candace Jones. Let's let Candace Jones in here. Candace, welcome. Thanks for coming. So does anybody have anything they want to talk about? Any questions? I just had a couple of things on the agenda. But again, this is your time, kind of open hours to talk about anything that's happening. No? Okay, it's exciting. It's an exciting group. Candace, hey, welcome. We run around the horn. Any questions from you, Candace? I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to come up with something to ask. Go.
What's your favorite color?
Blue. What's the next
Good color? Don't know yet. I wasn't prepared for that.
I will say this, because I've been building up communities for quite some time. A lot of times you don't have questions on the spot. And even if you had a whole bunch of books of questions, like I write novels, I write books of stuff every day, and I come up with things to talk about. And when you're in a meeting like this, it kind of gets easy to clam up. So I always say, listen, use the community. So for those that aren't sure what the heck I'm talking about, let me go ahead and share screen without totally doing something stupid here. Share screen 2. So if you're not part of mortgage.community, I'd encourage you to check it out. You can go to mortgage.community. We're going to be revamping this URL to masteringencompass.com. And we've got some courses in there, but the real meat of what this is all about is updates Q&A. So we had, I'll put notes in there. I was talking with somebody direct, and back in 2017, they found a post that I put in 2017 from another forum that talked about renovation lending. And so, yeah, so we created a renovation lending space in the conversation. So this community is here for you. It's really something that I tried to create before using the Basecamp platform. I totally created something that it was not intended for to be used on Basecamp, and it kind of blew up unexpectedly. That got turned into the admin portal when I worked for Kenzie May. That's owned by Kenzie May. Nothing I can do about that. But I can create a community that I think involves a lot more discussions, a lot more to offer than just conversations. And so that's where, we're adding in resources to help with Encompass, some free professional courses, some courses from partners, and then also Mastering Encompass courses. More to come on this later. That's not what today is all about. So more to come on this later. I'm looking at chat. So if you have anything you want to bring up, go ahead and throw it in there. And again, a couple of agenda items I just had for today, just to kind of get the conversation going. And for those that are here, you got to give me some kind of answer, just like I gave Candace there a moment ago. Let's talk about plugins in Consumer Connect. So first of all, plugins, what are they really worth? I made an announcement last week where I partnered up with an Encompass solutions provider partner, and basically took their entire plugin library and turned the model on its head. So now it's $399 a month. It's $5 per closed loan for every single plugin in this entire library, which rivals those of any other top provider, but they're a lesser known name. Doesn't matter who they are right now. But basically $5 a month, strike that, $399 a month, $5 a plugin, a closed loan for all the plugins, $2,000 cap. It's just not something anybody else is doing. And the reason why I want to come to market with a closed loan model for plugins is because whether you're closing 10 loans a month or 1,000 loans a month, it's the same plugin. It's the same piece of software. And I don't think it's fair that companies are paying large monthly fees for plugins that they're not using nearly as much as they did a couple of years ago when they first got them. I think there has to be something to do about that. And I want to disrupt the marketplace, and it's happening. So to you, what's a plugin worth? So Sharon, I'm going to start with you because I'm going to go from upper left to lower right. So Sharon, Chris, Kevin, Brian, Amy, Katie, Candace, that's the order. So Sharon, what's
you're asking me, and it's not up to me. It would be up to Lisa.
What's it worth?
And she wanted a whole bunch of plugins, but I don't think she got her wish.
Okay. What would it do? What is it doing for you? Well, I mean, assuming you had an open pocketbook, what would it do for you?
It all depends on what type of plugin it is,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, what type of plugin would I need at this point? I mean, we don't do a lot of crazy things.
I think that's a great question. And that's what I always talk about, right? So when I've worked for other companies where they focused on plugins, it was the clients were like so enthralled in getting these plugins and they didn't want to talk about workflow. And it honestly bothered me. It's the reason why when I created Mortgage Workflow Partners, it's workflow before technology, because I don't know what a plugin is worth. This is really important, deep conversation. So Sharon, to you,
I know at one point, Larry, there was some plugin. I think someone was talking about a plugin for the menu bar at the top of Encompass first sign in.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to see everything. You actually got to go into the loan to see that it's a HELOC in the term, and none of that's up there. But again, that never went very far. So
Yeah. And it's a nice to have. Is it going to slow your business down? Maybe. How much? I don't know. And if you're closing a lot less loans than you were before, is it worth less now? Because you really don't need that speed to know the information. Brian, what's your vibe on it?
On plugins?
Yeah, like what's a plugin worth to you?
Well, we're talking to Lender's Toolkit right now because I'm a big fan of Nikolai Petrov, and he sold all his stuff to Lender's Toolkit.
Yes, he did.
I love the Code Wizard. I love the Biz Rule Analyzer. I hate the fact that I have to pay $795 every month.
Oh, that's on an
for
annual
using it.
contract. Wait, let's be clear. That's on an annual contract. It's $875 by the month, just so you know.
I'm more than willing to sign
And it's
a year
great. Hey,
contract
listen,
then.
Nikolai's stuff, I love Nikolai. It was a long time ago when Lender Toolkit, literally when Brett had his first exhibit at the time, the Ellie Mae experience. And I walked up and it was Mike Beck and it was Brett Brumley and it was Nikolai. And so I know the whole gang and his code stuff, his Code Wizard is phenomenal. And even the Biz Rule Analyzer is great. But to your point, I can't, I just had a client finally get their first set of plugins, and it was that level because they have a brand new admin to the industry, and Code Wizard is very, very helpful.
Yeah, it makes me easily 3 times more productive because I can sandbox every role I write and make sure it's not going to blow up before I even try to build a loan with it.
So it's really valuable. That one plugin is very valuable to you. How valuable is USPS address check? How valuable is auto roll assignment?
I will say Back and Forward is a very valuable plugin, and that one's free.
Sure. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. Lender Toolkit does a great job. They give away a lot of really valuable stuff for free. I will make sure, I've said this to Lender Toolkit directly recently. You need to be a super admin, which I know sounds crazy because you would expect that, but there are companies who want to use like Biz Rule Analyzer for their junior admins that are not supers. That's a problem, right? And so I actually called them out on that this past week because I had that happen. And so but the idea is, listen, Lender Toolkit does great plugins. Kenzie May does great plugins. Ignite does great plugins. Independent people who shouldn't really be selling Encompass, they do great plugins too. But
I make moderate plugins. Mine are not great yet.
Right. Well, the idea is if you had to put a value, where is your value, Brian, in a plugin?
Reducing cures, increasing productivity.
Okay.
Those are I think it should be in that direction. I've been first time caller, long time listener, babe, Larry.
Thank you, Brian. Well, we're doing these every week, so come on more often.
Now that I have a job again, and an active Zoom, that's the important thing.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. Who are you with now?
Yeah. Banterra Bank. I'm the only admin for 30 whole users.
That's awesome. That's great. I think that's fantastic.
I got to take a broken system. They can't even lock loans right now.
Okay, well, fix that stuff, would you please?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm working through it right now. We got a long-term plan. I've given my boss my list of tools that I need, and it'll be interesting to see how much of that gets approved or not.
Well, leverage the community. If there's anything we can ever do to help, you know where to find.
Oh yeah. I'm going to be coming here a lot more regularly now, and there's always base camp, and that's one nice thing about this community is we're very supportive of each other.
I think so.
Unless we're competing for the same job, at which point I will stab you in the foot to get in front of you.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Brian. Hey, Chris, just to get everybody get a chance here before we run out of time. Chris, any thoughts on the value of plugins for you?
Well, I'm kind of, in the beginning stages of admin, of learning all of this, so I don't have a whole lot of experience. I know we don't use a lot of plugins. We try to solve everything as much as possible on our own, and develop things that we can. So I don't think we use a whole lot of plugins.
Yeah.
I know we have some Kinsey May tools that we use, but we don't really rely on a whole lot of plugins.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly, I think that is what people need to hear more of. I think like what Sharon's dealing with, and even some other clients are doing very, very well with no plugins. And because of either workflow solves or native functionality that's becoming more enhanced. Kevin, do you have any vibe on this? Any opinion on this topic?
I'm kind of the same place, although I've been an admin for longer than Chris. We have, I think, a USPS, and I'm trying to think of the other one that we bought from a third party, but it was a one-time charge. It wasn't
No monthly.
a monthly charge, and it's a lot easier to say, especially, we're at, I think, 12, 13 loan officers now. So, we're not real big. I came from 70 plus loan officers, so we were a little bigger there and, had a little bit more money to spend, but even there, we didn't do many plugins. There are some that I would like to have, or just be able to learn to write for simple stuff like pulling the document receive date into a business rule.
Sure.
Or, something along those lines. But a monthly fee in today's environment would be a hard sell to the people that are writing the checks.
It is.
So that would be, my biggest thing. If it was a bigger volume operation, that might be a little bit easier sell, but
It's still got to be worth it. It's still got to be value. You can't be stupid about money.
right.
Don't care how much money you're making. It's about what you keep.
Right.
That's great feedback, Kevin. I appreciate it. Amy and Katie, I don't know if I'm being unnice by putting you together, but you're kind of together. Any feedback on that?
I will tell you, I couldn't live without plugins. And we have a lot.
Which ones? What are we talking about?
All of them. I mean, we probably have, I don't know, 25. The efficiency and the thousands and thousands of hours it has saved us I would pay that much money every month because we're saving that much money every month.
So now let me ask you a question. The things you're talking about obviously are assisting your workflow, which is where you're saving thousands and thousands, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Sure. Yeah. The work that the plugins are doing for you, which are saving thousands of hours, that's workflow tasks that you're talking about, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So
efficiencies.
Right. So my question is for you to hypothesize is if you were to go to work for a company that had Encompass that didn't have any plugins, you feel like business wouldn't
Would I cry every day? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's so for you, Amy, in your case, right, it's everything because that's how your company runs. And just a question for you, when you think like if the company brings in something new, a new product or a new department, or I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but where a new workflow is needed, are you thinking about how the plugin's going to support that? Or are you thinking about how the workflow is going to support the plugin? Which way are you going?
We're always thinking of what is the workflow, determine the workflow, and then how the plugins can support the workflow.
Okay,
so cool. We have built custom screens for every job per se. So we have a correspondence side too. So depending on what the job is, even our underwriters have their own screen and have their own things. And so every person that we have can go to basically one place and they can bring up e-folder documents. They can bring up other screens. They can fill out, we've pulled all the fields together. So basically they have a one-stop shop where they can live and they can do this. So we've created all those efficiencies by having these plugins to be able to do that. Batch Updater alone during HMDA, when ICE kept on changing the rules every month and then backdating all the stuff you've already scrubbed, that alone saved me in the first 2 weeks, paid for itself. In the
Yeah.
thousands of hours I would have saved them having to manually go in and change all those loans.
Batch
So
update, admin tools like Code Wizard or other things that are administrator focused.
but we have a
Yeah, they're not
lot,
yeah.
you know, advanced email utilities to sending out batch, lots of different things we do. And I will tell you that I am on the opposite side of you on the theory of cost. Is I like to pay for the fee. I don't mind paying a monthly fee for the plugins. I don't think we should pay a per loan fee on that because my plugin is doing the same thing as your plugin is doing, regardless of how many times I'm using it. So if I'm buying the plugin itself, I'm not buying how many times. But I'm also kind of against a per loan basis on a lot of different things.
Even with a cap?
If it had a cap, possibly. I just don't.
I don't
just
understand
don't
that.
think
Wait,
it
wait.
doesn't-
You brought it up. I want to go through this. So,
Okay.
so the reason for the per loan is to make it fair for Chris's company as a hypothetical who's closing 30 loans, and Brian's company who's closing 100 loans, hypothetically, with the same plugin, but to try to make it a fair playing field for the cost of that technology, but also having a cap. So what's not okay, and it's very expensive, is if you get into a hypothetical contract with a particular service or a particular piece of technology that has no cap. And now you're looking at, let's say, you know, again, using those two streams, now you're talking about the same piece of technology, even though the technology provider said, listen, we're totally happy with 2,000 a month from Chris, but because there's an opportunity to make 12,000 with Brian, we want to grab the 12,000 too. That's kind of the reason for it. So does that change your perspective?
I just don't agree that you should pay per how much you use one. I mean, I don't know. I've never been, even with the ICE, the whole thing with Encompass and stuff too, when you pay per loan, and I guess that it keeps it cheaper for other people and stuff, but even that is, you should pay a subscription for what you're paying for. Like on Netflix, I'm buying Netflix. I'm not paying for how much I watch it. I could watch it once a week, or I could watch it 24 hours a day, and I'm still paying the same amount for Netflix.
So just to kind of take this, and we'll move on here before we run out of time, but just to ask you about Netflix. So if you said, listen, Netflix, I'll subscribe to you for $1 a month. And then every time I watch a show, it's $1, or I could pay $15 a month flat and watch as much as I want. And you know, you only watch a couple of shows a month. What would you do?
Well, I'm not opposed to having that transactional to say, I can do it this fee and use it as much as I want. I mean, I guess I'm not opposed if there was a cap to it. My problem is if I'm closing 1,000 loans, I don't feel like I should have to pay $15,000 for the same tool that you're paying $1,000 for. That's my,
yeah, 1,000%
that's where I think that I shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, so you know when you exceed the value, and you kind of, that's a beautiful way to say it, Amy. When you exceed the tangible value of a piece of technology, it becomes abrasive. And I couldn't agree with that more. It's not fair that people are paying through the wazoo just because they're closing more loans with the same piece of technology. I don't think that that's fair. But I do think that there's a model out there. And maybe this is not the best one, but I do think there's a model out there to make companies closing 10 or 15 loans a month, to give them the way to technology to level the playing field against a company like yours that can afford to pay, you know, the whatever it is that you're paying a month, because you're closing so many more loans. That's the part that I'm trying to solve.
I would agree that it does need to be affordable to the people who aren't using it, because everybody should have access to that tool.
Exactly. Couldn't say it
And,
better.
and it shouldn't, and if it allows you, basically it allows you to really customize your Encompass. That's what these tools do for me.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Amy. I appreciate the insight and always the discussion. I love how you bring it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't
Uh,
have to say a thing.
yeah, Katie, you were like, you're just be like, yep.
Yep.
Candace, last thoughts on this, and then I want to kind of talk about Consumer Connect really quick.
Absolutely. So it's a very nebulous question. I support multiple different clients with different channels of business and volume. And I'm kind of thinking about each one of them individually, and hearing the scope of answers here is in alignment with what their responses would be, in the sense of the affordability. I love the model that you're talking about, the monthly fee with a cap, because then, like you said, it makes it accessible to all. But putting a dollar amount on that is really, really hard. I don't have an answer for that. I've been a long time administrator. I was one for a credit union for 15 years. Really didn't have a lot of depth and breadth because, you know, you had your blinders on, focused on that line of business. But now that I'm supporting multiple different clients, I'm starting to understand the different needs within the industry and how to leverage those tools. So I'm on a steep learning curve, and that's why I'm here, is to glean as much knowledge as I can and expand my skills so I can better support my clients.
I think that's awesome, Candace, and definitely leverage the community. You know, it's we all have Brian, I took you know, I smiled a little bit when you're like, hey, if we're trying to work on the same client or get the same job or something like that. And the reality is there's several hundred customers in the country right now, independent mortgage companies, banks, credit unions, that are all closing less than 50 loans a month right now. Several hundred. So there's plenty of work to go around. There's plenty of opportunities. And back a couple of years ago, when Encompass admins were legit getting like 150,000 a year, it's unsustainable. Like, that's just not going to last forever. And for those that got paid that money during that time, congratulations. But the reality is that it was always somewhere in the $80,000 to $100,000 range, even 8 years ago. And that's where I kind of see things morphing out, doing something like what Candace is doing, helping multiple clients, or doing like what Sharon and Brian, it sounds like you guys are doing, and Chris and Kevin and Katie, to you as well, where, you know, you're focusing in on multiple parts of your job to support your employer, your company, in addition to doing Encompass, because, you know, we all got to pitch in right now. Times are tough. Which leads me into a very short time window, but I want to talk about Consumer Connect, because I've been around Encompass again for a very, very long time, since the beginning. And Consumer Connect was as was Encompass, ahead of its time. And it was built on technology that was not really well supported. And the truth of it is, there were things that probably Ellie Mae could have done to really enhance the experience with Consumer Connect. And that's the reason why other companies like Simple Nexus, Kevin, thanks for the note on Simple Nexus. AWS is having problems apparently. So if you're like, your Netflix just went offline, it's probably because AWS. Anyway, the idea of these other POSs popping up, the big POS, if you guys haven't seen that one, that's their little poopy thing. But the big POS is a platform like another POS. Consumer Connect, I wanted to speak to that because I'm trying to help clients understand that A, it's included in your engagement. Consumer Connect's down. Thanks, Sharon. Consumer Connect's included in your success-based pricing. The idea of what most companies are using Consumer Connect for is for their website. Please get on the widgets. If you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about with widgets, Sharon could tell you. We just helped them move the widgets earlier this year and move all their consumer loans onto Consumer Connect and Encompass. But the idea is, there's a ton of functionality in Consumer Connect that you need to take advantage of, even if it's only for a portion of your company, just to prove to your company and your decision makers that you don't have to spend the god awful money and extra money with other providers outside of ICE for a POS that delivers disclosures, documents, tasks to your borrowers, and also includes for hybrid e-closing at no extra money. And this is a big shout out, and this is kind of a thing across the bow of POS providers, because if you are planning on doing hybrid e-closes, and if your workflow is going to involve Consumer Connect, like you have to do with several POSs, you're not out of that boat. You're still giving that borrower the experience for Consumer Connect. So for God's sake, save the money and make the switch. Keep your borrowers on your own domain. Use the widgets. It's a beautiful experience. The only thing that ICE has to fix, and they know this, is the cross-site third-party tracking. That's the only pain in the ass, Mark, that's happening. Sharon, something to say?
Yeah, we've been running into quite a few borrowers that try to do it with their iPhone or their iPhones or iPads. And, again, we can't tell them to remove the tracking and how to do it. They have to figure it out on their own. So
Well, your bank has a policy about that. Other mortgage companies will actually put links or send out disclosures, and we should probably talk about that offline. But there's instructions you can give to your borrowers on what is happening, and not recommend, but help them understand where certain settings are. And the truth of it is
very good. I like it. Consumer Connect.
Yeah, it works, and it's easy, and it does its job, and it's fully integrated into Encompass. And again, I'm bringing this up publicly because I think that there are enough of us that have been around Encompass for more than a couple of years who just remember all of the struggles Consumer Connect had in the past. And I would encourage you to give it a fresh look. Check out westfieldbank.com. They implemented widgets all over the place, and it looks phenomenal. It's a really cool place. And certainly if you have any questions about how to make it work for your organization, hit me up on the community or hit us up at, you can call me directly at 888-522-7181 or email me at larry@workflowpartners.org, or just come to the next meeting and ask. It's every Tuesday and Thursday. Right, Brian? He's looking for the mute. It's like, yes.
I got too many monitors now.
That sounds like my problem usually. That's it for today. Any before we split, any last questions? I try to respect your time. I know we're 1 minute over, but any last questions, comments?
I would love a whole half hour on widgets because I know nothing about them.
All right,
So
let's do
if you need a topic for Thursday
next week. Well, we got Thursday set up, but I'll throw in their Consumer Connect widgets, and we'll talk about that next week. Thank you, Brian.
Awesome.
Yeah. Kevin, you had something?
No,
No,
I was just gonna say thanks.
you're welcome. Thank you for coming. Katie, Candace, Chris, Sharon, Brian.
No, I'll talk to you on Thursday.
We'll see you on Thursday. And
Yes, I'll be here.
Everybody else watching us online somewhere, thank you very much for watching. And for those that are watching this on replay, thanks for watching that too.
Thanks, Larry.
Talk to you later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.